going on, AP Government people? We have the final video for unit number 2. This one is on citizens' political beliefs. Very important topics will be discussed here. So let's get going. All right, what are beliefs that citizens hold about government? Well, citizens' beliefs about the government and its role are often based on the citizens' political ideology. What the heck is political ideology, you may be saying? Well, it's the set of values and beliefs of an individual when it comes to politics and public policy. There are two major political ideologies. You've heard these before: liberal and conservative. It's very important to know the difference between these two. So let's jump in. What makes somebody a liberal? Well, let's talk about two famous liberal presidents first. We have Jimmy Carter on the left and FDR on the right, and they both were members of the Democratic Party. Now, in general, liberals support a larger scope of government and more government involvement. I'm just generally speaking here. Every characteristic I will list does not apply to every liberal, as every characteristic I list for conservatives does not apply to every conservative. But generally speaking, somebody is a liberal if they favor policies that promote equality, such as affirmative action. And beliefs of liberals include military spending should decrease. When it comes to abortion, they are pro-choice and believe it is a woman's right to choose. They tend to favor affirmative action, and they also advocate higher taxes for wealthy individuals and would favor increased spending on social programs, things like welfare and social security. What makes someone a conservative? Well, in general, conservatives support a smaller scope of government and less government involvement. Famous conservatives include Ronald Reagan and George W. Bush. They also favor policies that promote free enterprise or capitalism. So some beliefs of conservatives: they believe that military spending should be a top priority. So even though they may favor a smaller scope of government, many of them do favor increased military spending. When it comes to abortion, they tend to be pro-life, and they oppose programs like affirmative action, and they advocate lower taxes, especially for wealthy individuals. And they also favor decreased spending on social programs. So let's take a closer look at liberals and conservatives and really who makes up each group. Well, more Americans identify with conservative than liberal. A lot of European nations tend to be liberal, whereas America tends to be more conservative as a whole. Those under 30 years old identify more with liberal than conservative. So a lot of college students tend to be more liberal than conservative. African Americans identify more as liberal than conservative as well. And part of this reason is because government laws of the 1960s, these increased voter participation for minorities. And you can look at the Voting Rights Act of 1965 signed by LBJ, and here's Martin Luther King Jr. LBJ as this liberal president, a Democratic president, that really helped entrench even further the idea that African Americans identify with the Democratic Party. Women also tend to be more liberal than men. And when it comes to religion and ideology, it's not really the specific religion that determines ideology, but rather how religious an individual is. So it doesn't really matter if somebody is Christian or Jewish. Rather, it depends how Christian or how Jewish they are in terms of how strongly their religion impacts their life. So, for example, born-again Christians tend to be conservative, and those with little or no religious affiliation tend to be more liberal. Okay, let's do a quick recap. Definitely know characteristics of liberals and characteristics of conservatives, and then the demographics of each group. In other words, who tends to identify with each one of those groups. For test tips, characteristics of liberals and conservatives, again, you have to know that. What are some groups that are likely to be liberal and conservative? And for free response, continue with this: what are the groups that are likely to be liberal and conservative? You may have to explain them in a free response question. All right, guys, look forward to seeing you back here for unit number 3, the first video in that, video number 12 in our series. This is on the functions of political parties. So we'll talk about the Democrats and we'll talk about the Republicans. What is the function or the purpose of these political parties? If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the section below. I thank you for watching and have a good day.